Well, hello, everyone. I'm Lori Camden, part of the programming team through the Language of Consciousness Institute, and I'm here with Victoria McMahon, a collaborator with me. Also, she's an advocate through the Language of Consciousness Institute. And today we're going to have a brief conversation about what is exploring Soma. We have this wonderful introductory 1 hour session coming up just to explore what people's definitions are and how they relate to Soma. So I thought I would start by sharing an experience that I had just recently on Saturday. I've been out of town for over a month, navigating, different surroundings and different way of being. So I've been in the exploration of Soma like for the last month, even though I do it all the time anyhow. But I noticed specifically driving home, I left Cleveland in a snowstorm, not a snowstorm. It had snowed the night before and my car was covered. And I'm like, oh, all this, the mind, the emotion, the body. I'm like, oh, I really don't want to travel in this weather. And I'm like, well, I need to get home because I've been gone for so long. I hopped in the car, beautiful weather the whole way. So I was able to be in relationship with my Soma. And it was the greatest exploration because I kind of noticed like what was my initial access point to Soma. And it was the body. So I would pay attention to how I was sitting in the seat of the car, how I was connected to the accelerator with my foot, and you can try this out on your own. Probably just about all of us are driving, or even if you're walking or using any mode of transportation, you can be in this awareness. And I'm like, wow, I'm pressing that accelerator with my toe and my foot's getting tired. So how do I like bring all the way up to my hip and let that, my whole body kind of press down on the accelerator? And with that, I was able to expand like my whole somatic engagement and relationship shifted because it was not only internally to my physical body, but it was also like externally. Like it was a beautiful, beautiful blue sky with big puffy clouds, and there's all like these lines going through the sky. And I'm like, well, isn't that like a dynamic way of being with nature? Because it's all these crisscrossing patterns. And I'm like, oh my God, that's all the people with me driving. They're like, there's the path, So I had this, just this interactive relationship with my mind and the story of what was going on with my physical body and how I was feeling in relationship, not only to me in the car, but me and the other drivers. Was I in that flow? And the emotion, there were moments when my emotional languaging, I would notice like if a car was going slower or faster or just doing its stuff that they're not really paying attention to anywhere else, I would get this a little bit of tinge of road rage because I'm a reformed road rager. And I would be like, okay, I don't have to be in that. So I'd look out at the sky, and I would just like change my whole persona. And it just made the trip that much more enjoyable. And it was like a quick drive. And it didn't seem like it lasted forever. So I think that's part of being in relationship with your Soma. It just, you were there in the moment as if time is, I don't know how to, time is present, but it's not present. Like you're creating your own time type of thing. So I really like that. And I think when I'm in that whole system response that you and I have talked about before, Victoria, that creates the space for me to be in that timeless time, because I'm just present to what is right now in this moment, and then I move from there. So I'm like, what a great example to share. And I don't know, we all have those moments, like, those regular things we do every day that we can bring into the practice of being in relationship with our Soma. How about you?
Oh, I have a couple of responses that rose in me. The first one was when you started talking about getting into your car and observing your body in the pedal and just saying, we can do that. I felt my body paying attention to how it was sitting in this chair at that moment. And I felt my spine go up a little bit. I don't know, people might have seen me just kind of elongate. Who knows if you were observing that or not. And then the other couple of things that about the aspects of Soma that stood out to me in that is that in mind Soma, there's this distinction that we've talked about between the mental mind, da 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 da, and the mind languaging that is in relationship with, and how you talked about some moments being more mental mind. Oh, I don't want to drive in the snow. And then being able to shift and observe your thoughts about how it was to be in relationship to the beauty of the skies and the flow of being with others, and the ability to observe those that weren't in the flow, and just simply be present to that, but stay in your own flowing mind language about it as an observation only. And you did the same thing with your emotional language. It's like navigating and noticing which emotions brought up that remembrance of the prior road rager that I once knew you to be, that you no longer are, and your relationship to feeling not only relaxed in your body to enjoy the drive, but the feeling of the emotion of actually being pleased and content in the experience of it. So I saw all three aspects of your inner relationship as a somatic being. And I think that's really important to understand, that we are the Soma, and it's, do we observe ourselves as somatic beings? Do we interact from that nature? And we naturally tend to gravitate, like we've talked about before, you and I both tend to be the people who start with the body language. Probably why we're collaborators for so long, because we have that resonance there. And some people may be mindfully somatic first, or emotionally somatic beings from their nature first, and then the others kind of join in our awareness. And what's so interesting is this morning I had a driving experience that that had such a relationship to how we do interrelate. So can I share mine too?
Yes, please.
So I set out to deliver what I call my Meals on Wheels to a friend of mine who has not been feeling 100%. And I had made some nourishing foods for her, and I was feeling really good about, I just want to have an offering to support her being coming back into balance. So I pop a text as I'm leaving the house to let her know that I'm on my way. And I get this response back, oh, I'm busy at that time, but I'll be available a little bit later. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm driving down the road, And I automatically just felt my body as I'm driving, see this lane where I could do a U-turn in like 50 yards or whatever. And I just felt my body move into the lane. And my mind then came online and said, oh, well, we can go the other direction. Just make a U-turn, go the other route, and stop at the department store to take care of some things that I was going to do after I dropped it off. And that would give me all the time I needed to take care of that, then go and drop off the food. And then I would stay in the timeline of my day. And I just felt this sense of contentment that I could be in the joy of, oh, I've got another way to work this out that's equally wonderful as my first way. And my whole body was just like so happy and pleased that I had two ways and I could choose. And choice is really a really important part for me. Well, how do I navigate when things come up unexpectedly, right? So to be in that, it was the body that said, we'll give you another choice here. Yeah. And then the mind went, but of course. And it was smooth sailing. And I got there like 10 minutes after the time that she'd said she'd be available. Mm-hmm. So it was like I was right on time and completely in the flow, like you had talked about, just completely feeling all systems interweaving on behalf of everybody, not just me, but also her system too. And, you know, we could have a lovely time and then, you know, just complete what was ours to do beyond that. So I think those examples of what it means, those are examples of what Soma is about. And then, you know, we can talk about the technical pieces of it, but it comes down to what you said earlier, observing. And so I think that's kind of the technical place, I would say. Maybe we could talk a little bit more about that. And I don't know, what would you say?
Well, it's interesting because as you're talking, it pinged me. And what pinged me primarily was you follow, like your body just said, like, go into this lane type of thing. And I wonder, or I'll put it out there for the people watching us, where is your first thing? Like getting that text, was it like, oh my God, like you're messing up my timeline? Or are you listening to your body and allowing it to be in that flow? And I think that's what we tend to do, especially in the Western culture, is to like, oh my God, I have to be there in 10 minutes. And there's like bumper to bumper traffic and you get all riled, or you get all the mental thinking or that emotional, just like upheaval. And it does shift into that choice. So, you know, as a reformed road rager, I love that I am that now. I understand that, in that choice of, okay, I'm in that hurry up, hurry up, hurry. I got 10 minutes to get there and it doesn't seem like I'm going to get there, but by golly, it always works out when I settle back down into the communication system that's trying to help me and be full of ease and effortlessness and efficiency. And without a doubt, I'm there with time to spare type of thing. And the lights are exactly right. And there's, you know, the cars move out of my way. The sea departs, you know, so I can just make my way there. And that happens to me all the time. So there is potency and powerful way of being when we're connected to all aspects of our soma, if we observe and pay attention and act, have direct action from that place. It's great. Things are magical. They
You
really
know,
are.
Lori, you really pinged me right back. It's like ping pong, right? Because I think what you're getting at, that that will help us know and observe if we are truly operating from the full somatic being that we naturally are, is in that situation. When I saw the text come through, I went, oh, okay, well, I can just go and drop it off. That was my first thought in that sense of it. Well, yeah, no big deal. That's fine. But then the body said, ah, there's another way. So it was the response to that that mind languaging that the body created a more efficient pathway for me. And here's my question, not just to you, but to everyone who's listening. How many times have you been in whatever kind of experience? It just happens to be driving for us today, but whatever, a conversation with someone, a working out some kind of paperwork thing, or whatever the experience, that you've done what I call an override. Like the system gives you information from the body, from the emotional language, from the mind language, not mental mind thinking, but from the true mind language. And for whatever reason, habituated response patterns, not in a capacity to observe in the moment because you're too off kilter, upset, that you just override this organic natural system that we are designed to be. And I just wonder, how many times do we notice even that we override ourselves? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yes, I agree. That's like, I'm sure that's pretty much a norm for the majority of people. And there's the recognition of that and coming back to, like, you can choose to stay there or you can choose to come back to that calm, centered, connected, symbiotic way of operating with yourself and all of your systems. So it's not a right or a wrong. It goes back to that observing, and really how much depth are you putting in to the practice of observing.
Yeah. And the last couple minutes here, the one thing that I would add to what you said about coming back to a calm centered, sometimes for me, to return to that calm centered place, I need to take all of that emotion or all of that body sensation or all of that mind energy thinking, and I need to move with it. Like whatever way that movement is, I need to feel that rush of emotion and really let it have its full expression. And then everything kind of settles in. So it's not always just about, well, let me be calm, centered, quiet, relaxed. It's about, let me move the energy too, so that calm, centered, quiet, relaxed happens naturally. Kind of like a dog, when they go, and mine's been acting up lately. And then they take a nice big yawn and
Yeah.
it's like, I think I'll have a nap now.
Yeah,
Right?
I totally do that with music and dance. So that I get it. Like if I'm in that charged way of being emotionally, I might put on some headbanging music. Or, if I'm like, that's overcharging me more, because sometimes it's like it counterbalances it, and sometimes like attracts like. So depends on the situation. And then I'll listen to some like just quiet instrumental music or something like that. So it is, I agree. I'm that moving person too. It's like just shaking off like a wet dog, shaking off all the water. And it's like, okay, I can go bask in the sun now.
So it comes down to observing, moving with choice through the somatic lens. And I think that's what we're really getting at today, to understand that you have more possibilities if you invite the somatic nature of who you are to be fully present. And one of the ways in which we as collaborators want to support you in that is through this conversation. I think it's March 16th, is our 1 hour conversation. Lori, do you remember what time?
9 to 10 Mountain.
9 to 10 a.m. Mountain Time. It's a Thursday, March 16th. And then, so we're going to talk more, and it's a Zoom call. So we're all going to be interacting, sharing our experience of how Soma is part of who we are naturally, or are inquiring about it. And then Lori and I are going to lead a 4-week series, an hour each week on Thursdays from 9 to 10 a.m. The following week, starting on the 23rd, running through mid-April. And you can find out more by going to the Language of Consciousness Institute.com under their events page, and you'll see what is Exploring Soma on the 16th. And then on the 23rd for 4 weeks, the art of unpacking Soma and looking at the mind language, the emotion language, and the body languaging. And then the integration, interweaving of those, kind of a little bit like what we talked about today. You'll have practice in each of them, and then more sense of the interweaving of them at the end of it. Anything else before we conclude this conversation?
No, I want to invite anyone and everyone to join us, because it is such a, it is something that we all have inside of us. So you don't have to go buy equipment or any, it's in us. So we invite you into that exploration of our own communication system, which is unique to each and every one of us individually. And it's unique to the collective, the groups, and it's how can we all be in an experience holding and honoring where each of us are at any given moment. That's beautiful in community. So join us.
That's a most awesome ending for this conversation. And stay tuned to the Language of Consciousness Facebook page. We'll be having more conversations leading up to the 16th, but come and tell us what Soma is for you as well. Until then, bye.
Bye.